Hello everybody, welcome to the Euro Titans Championship Round 8 here for the Miami Grand Prix. We'll jump straight into the session itself if it is deciding to work for me. It does appear to do so, which is good to see. But apologies for the delay, we've been having a few technical difficulties trying to get everything set up for you here this evening, but not to worry, we are here, we are up and running, and qualifying well and truly underway. We've only got a few minutes left, so we're hopefully going to be able to see everybody's final fly run. We should see a few cars heading out, and I would imagine the rest of them all in a flurry will be heading out onto the circuit. Bit of a rush start this one, but we'll see what everybody sort of stacks up currently on provisional pole. BXM in the Red Bull, so the AERT team putting their best foot forward with their man there. And then we've got Iris Anis in second, TF10 Flow, who's in third for AlphaTauri. And then here we are riding on board with AMS Gergo in that Aston Martin. See where everybody heads out. I think, has he been held up a little bit there, Gergo, through that first sector? He's still got a full battery. I think he was definitely backed out of this one. He'll probably be setting up to go once again. May have just got a little bit held up there on his final flying run. But of course, very difficult when the track really only has one racing line to find a gap and get into it and then set the fastest lap you possibly can, of course, to see where you end up. But yeah, at the moment, currently P4 for Gergo as he does the Max Verstappen hip hop, skip and a jump across the chicane. It's a good thing there's no bollard there to take out. Eni's in fifth, Mr. Chris, he is in sixth, and then we got BRT, 7th and 8th. That's not where they want to be. They are looking to try and defend their championship from last season, and they are at the top still at the moment doing so. We've got Zexo in 9th for Aston Martin as well. AMS there putting on a pretty good performance. IRS Thomas is in 10th, and then SLR Medal 12th as Tim has retired from the session, so he's P11, may start P12 depending. We'll see until we'll ride on board them with somebody else, maybe one of the BRT guys crowding. How about that? No, not quite. I think we're going to go with Meatball as he crosses the line. Why don't we do an on-board lap here then with him and see what he can manage into turn number one. Right-hander using all the track available to you before you then tuck it into turn 2 and 3 and then run it out wide as you make your way through that long third corner. And you got this brilliant left-right sort of chicane almost, and then it's immediately left once again around the fake marina that they have on the infield. Qualifying is done. Zexo's 9th. We're still on board here with Meatball. He's down on his current lap, so can he even improve by the time we get to the end of this lap? Wait to see. Long DRS straight here at the back. Best chance of overtaking probably at this corner right here. Tight left-hander after a DRS zone. Prepare to see many a dive bomb, I'm sure. And then it does get all twisty and turvy in this sort of latter middle sector. Pretty much single file, using all of the runoff and curbs that you can without upsetting the car too much before you then get another long back straight. DRS will be enabled halfway down it. And then your second chance, or another brilliant chance at least, for overtaking around this circuit into the hairpin after this long straight. Getting it all stopped on the brakes, clips the apex very early indeed, runs it wide, and I think that's why he's heading for the pits. So it's a shame we didn't get to see what he could do in the end, but BXM at the moment still provisional pole. Tomas has jumped into second, and this is still third. IRS looking to be good, very good this evening. We'll see where Mr. Chris ends up as he comes across the line now. He goes fastest of all. Provisional pole. Has BXM got a response? He's next across the line. Has he improved? No, he hasn't. Mr. Chris has done enough, and this comes home in fourth. Can Flo improve? I didn't quite see if he did. I think... Oh, he's gone pole position! Just like that. Wow. Wow, indeed. What a brilliant result that was for Flo. Did it when he needed to. Low 126 and pole by a good 10th there. Wow, that was a some lap then that he had on him. Well, that was quite an exciting end to qualifying, actually. It's a shame I didn't get to see it all unfold right from word go. But there we are. Flo takes pole position. Mr. Chris in second alongside. And then we got BXM third. IRS fourth and fifth. That's a good qualifying for them, considering BRT are down in eighth and ninth. This could be pretty good for IRS to make their late season comeback. We've only got 3 races left, including this one. Let's see how it unfolds. Gergo is fifth. I said Ines in fifth, sorry. Gergo sixth, sorry. And then we've got Any seventh, the BRT boys, and then Zexo rounds out the top 10. I'll get back to it in just a moment. Whilst we wait for the lobby to ready up, we can see here last week's results, and BRT on the top step. That was Meatball on that occasion. Very, very close finish to the race though. Bourbon Boy for FGE came in second. Eni had a good result in third. And IRS 4th and 5th on that occasion. Unfortunately, though, they didn't quite close up in the championships. If anything, BRT there extended their lead ever so slightly, but they've got a 31-point buffer to IRS in second place, which is good news for them, of course. That's what they aim to do, to win this championship and see what they can do. As I am going to just mess around here with my audio because it's just decided that it doesn't want to work for me just a little bit here. Let's have a quick look, see if I can not fix it. I think we may be a-okay. Yes, but there is your current standings after 7 rounds, and as I say, 3 more to go. Miami, which is this evening, Abu Dhabi, and then of course, where else to round off the championship but Brazil. But you can see there the championship quite tight and close, you would say. AERT not out of this. Artifacts Sim Racing there, I think, may struggle a bit, but they're still in this battle for third at least. And Alien Motorsport AMS thereabouts, and then we got sort of a battle for 6th place between TIR, FGE, and CRE. Not many points separate those teams either, but nonetheless, get a quick view of the track map here. Here we go. You can see it in its full glory and fuzziness, of course, because I couldn't find a good enough picture. But either way, there it is. So you can get a good idea of how this track lays out, but you can see there in the red first sector, very much single file through the majority of it. Of course, there is that chance into turn number 1 with the small DRS zone should you get a good exit out of turn 17. And in the middle sector, very much that long back straight, and then ends off in the very tight section once again, and it is normally single file through there as well. If you go side by side, you're going to lose a lot of time, maybe even a front end plate or so, because it does get very tight and twisty. And then you got Sector 3, pretty much 2 straight lines almost. There's a bit of a bend in between, but NASCAR fans wouldn't mind that. I'm sure they do enjoy going very fast and just a few left turns here or there. But nonetheless, in Miami for America, I'm sure there's plenty of American fans that would be watching if it wasn't this European Championship that we're in. I think it's European mostly. If there's any Americans out there, then do let me know. It'd be brilliant to see if there are many at all. But here we go then. Won't be long now until the race begins. We've got 29 laps at this Miami Grand Prix. 19 corners, 7 to the left. 7 to the right, 12 to the left. 5.4 kilometers, or being it is America and they use the other system, 3.36 miles with 3 DRS zones. So should be plenty of overtaking opportunities after those long straight into the tight hairpin. But of course you do have to follow very closely through the twisty sections at the end of them if you want absolutely any chance at all of making that move. But here we go, the lights are on. We're about to go racing here for the Euro Titans Championship, round 8 of Miami. They're out, and away they go up towards turn number 1. Who's got a good enough start on this occasion? Flo's pretty good, but Mr. Chris with a slightly better launch off the line has that inside line. He'll take the lead then through turn number 1, 2 and 3. BXM holds 3rd position. IRS team in that Ferrari outfit, they've held 4th and 5th. Crowding with a pretty good start there at the moment. He's up into 7th position. Apologies as I get everything wrong here, trying to work out. There we go, we can get it all sorted and done and dusted as we've had contact. Contact I can't pronounce his name. Zeox is out. And we have a virtual safety car, and I will get this right eventually. There we go. So, action already afoot. Plenty of carnage, you could say. Crowding's had a pretty good start. He's up into 7th. His teammate not so good. BRT Meatball, last week's winner, down in 13th position. So he's going to have it all to do from there. But for the moment, Mr. Chris leads, still under virtual safety car, and you can just see this end of Sector 2, how tight and twisty it really can get. And of course, the real-life Miami Grand Prix we've just had, and what a sensational win it was for Lando Norris on that occasion. But even for the real-life drivers, you can barely get a car side by side. So we have had Eni, who has left the session. Hopefully he'll be able to get back in rather soon, as we're back under green racing conditions. Riding on board here with Crowding. He's tried to go the extreme long way round the outside. He's still side by side with that Ferrari. I don't know how he's managed it. Oh, a bit of contact. Bit of contact there. He's just about got away with it. This is not over just yet. And just, oh my god, I don't know what's quite happened to that Ferrari. But Crowding's in 7th. Tim in that Mercedes has managed to find his way into 6th position. I don't know how he's done that, but he's right on the back of Gergo in front. Good restart then from that Mercedes. Let's see if he can catch up to his teammate. But his teammate has gone from first down to 3rd, so he's had a bit of a poor start. But overall, the Mercedes doing pretty well. But IRS Anis down in 9th. Not quite sure what happened on the restart there, but nonetheless, Flo takes the lead of this Grand Prix from BXM. Tim now making a move on Gergo. We see Gergo come back at him. This is without DRS, by the way. It's not been activated just yet. So at the end of this lap, we should get it back up and running. Oh god, I will get this eventually this evening. You can see here through this tight technical section of circuit underneath the bypass, it all Constantina's up. And you really want the important exit coming out of that section down this straight, so you can line up a move such as IRS Tomas has done on Mr. Chris. Mr. Chris lost another position now. He's down in 4th. His teammates behind him, and IRS Tomas has moved up one into 3rd. Good move there for the Ferrari driver. T-Flow, BXM trading fastest laps there, one after the other, but Flo still in control of this race at the moment as we begin lap number 3, and this means, of course, crucially, that DRS is going to come into play. Apologies, you're not getting any action from the engines themselves unless I mess around with some things, but I think we'd rather ride on board and watch the action. You don't necessarily need the engine noises, but let me know if you do want the engine noises, if it helps. Do say, I'll try and fix it as quick as I can. But for the moment, we're still under green flag conditions, and we're pretty much got a DRS train all the way down to 9th. Of course, then you get the break between Eni, who did disconnect. I hope he has managed to get back in, but he is still dropping, so may or may not be the case. Nonetheless, so the action is pretty close and tense. The two Mercedes. Tim is pretty much pushing Mr. Chris around that section of circuit. Turn number 16, that all-important crucial one down the back straight here. This is where we should see some overtaking being done. The Mercedes goes defensive of Mr. Chris. I think his teammate is probably going to cruise on through. I think they realise that he has got the better speed at this point of the Grand Prix. Makes no sense to hold each other up as BXM has taken the lead, as his teammate Jacob Bauer is having a bit of a ding-dong here with BRT Crowding. They were side by side there through 18-19, and now all the way up to turn number 1. Jacob going to have the DRS. Thought he may have had the inside line. Didn't quite get it late enough on the brakes. Crowding then holds on to P6 for the time being. The question is, can he hold on to that DRS? He's hovering there or thereabouts. This could be crucial for their race this evening, but let's wait and see. The timing is coming up in just a short moment's time. And he's lost it. He's lost the DRS. This could be crucial. Jacob behind's going to pick it up rather neatly off of BRT Crowding. Should be a very simple overtaking manoeuvre here. Goes to the inside, late on the brakes, tucks it in neatly to the apex, so you got no chance of coming back at me, says Jacob. And through he goes into P6, but he had, like I say, they've lost that DRS. This race, I think, very much just got a lot trickier for them if they wanted to progress further, as I feel this Miami circuit is very, very DRS dependent. And look at that, he's got the red light flashing at the back already. Jacob has already used all of that battery. He probably will become a bit of a sitting duck here, but at the moment I've got a Mercedes and Ferrari side by side. That's Tomas trying to defend from Tim as they go side by side down towards turn number 1. Flo has now been dropped to second. BXM takes the lead. They're still side by side through turn 1 and 2. The Mercedes just pulling out ahead on this occasion. That soft tyre doing absolute wonders for him at the start of this race. Apologies, here we go. We've got the tyre compounds. Tim is on the softs. That makes sense now. He's been blasting his way through the field. The two guys out front on that hard compound. Tomas, Mr. Chris, Jacob on that medium compounded tyre just behind 4th, 5th and 6th. And then we do get a lot more hard compound tyres. SRL Medal went for the soft tyre, but most of them on that hard compound. It should be a one-stop here as it normally is at most races. They're going side by side again. That's Tim and Tomas side by side. Mr. Chris trying to get in. No way, boys. You can't go 3 wide into that corner. It just doesn't quite work out normally. Tim holds third, but Mr. Chris very much behind Tomas, and Tomas pushing round the Mercedes in front. This is very close action indeed. Onto the back straight now. DRS coming into effect. Has anyone set their car up slightly less downforce, less drag, more speed through turn 17? I think Tomas, he's got very much a better exit out of that corner. They're now going to be side by side again on the run up to turn number 1, although I think Tomas is going to have it done nice and easy before they even get to the corner. Not quite. Tim's very much late on the brakes, but Tomas had that inside line. Very much easy pass for him there in the end. Takes third position back from the Mercedes then. This is heating up as we're getting all of the action left, right and centre for you. Two Mercedes still one behind the other, and actually looking back at it, because of this in-house fighting as well as with the other teams, BRT Crowding's managed to pick up the DRS once again, so that's good news for him. Because what that will mean is that he will benefit from that, of course, with the car in front. That means he shouldn't drop off the pace so rapidly and easily. He shouldn't be dropped from this front group. In theory, of course, it's very much easy to say all these things. You've then got to put it into effect, into practice, and actually do it. I would love to tell you who is driving for what team, but I can guess from the teams here, but they haven't put this week's lineup up, which is rather interesting. But nonetheless, we move forward as Tomas is now actually on the attack into the front two. BXM and Flo, they've had the lead switching back and forth between themselves for these first 6 laps of the Grand Prix, and now Tomas has decided, I'm going to join in on the party. I want a taste of champagne as well. Well, they're all going to say champagne if it ended like this, but it's always a little bit sweeter on the top step. And Tomas has firmly put his hand in the ring. Through sector 1, sweeping corners left and right, you're really relying on the downforce of the car that it generates to get you through that sector safely and of course as quickly as possible. And you get this long back straight, so that final corner once again very crucial to the back here, as Mr. Chris is gonna take the move on his teammate. Tim now down into 5th. Those soft tyres probably beginning to struggle a little bit out there, as I think it's quite a high wear track. It is a one-stop most likely, but you can make a 2-stop work. The difference is only about 4 seconds, so if you feel you got the pace and can really gun it, then it is an option there for you. But I would imagine most of these guys will be going for that one stop. Hopefully F124 will change that and we will see a bit more vary in the strategy. You can see the Aston Martin in the background. That's Gergo getting past Jacob Bauer as Crowding maybe having a cheeky look at the inside of that Mercedes into turn 17. I think he thought better of it. He'll pick up the DRS now, though. This could be a chance into turn number 1. But it does mean he's got to get alongside Tim, because Tim also, with the DRS, able to defend. He gets that very much thanks to his teammate now, Mr. Chris, in front of him. 8 laps, 8 laps started now. We just started lap number 8. 7 laps gone, just started lap number 8 as the two Hasses trying to replicate their 2020 season down there at the back on their own. But as long as they're fighting amongst themselves, I'm sure they're having a jolly old time nonetheless. But they're 12th and 13th at the moment. They are some 4 seconds off the back, though, of 11th place of medal. And it does seem to be that they're struggling a little bit this evening. But either way, so there we go, a bit of action on board with Medal. He's actually going past Meatball there. This is the battle for P number 10. Meatball's going to keep it late on the brakes. Medal is definitely trying to hold it round the outside. He'll have the inside line now. They're still side by side through this section. As Medal finally gives way to Meatball, backs off. He knows he's got another DRS coming up now, so he'll probably try and make the move then into turn 17. There you go, you can see the Hasses sweeping around the back there. Just some 4 and a bit seconds off this battle here for 10th place. DRS in effect for Medal. Meatball not got anyone in front of him, so he doesn't get that effect, unfortunately, for him. So he could be a bit of a sitting duck. He does seem to have some legs, though, on that car. As IRS Anis, the first driver to pick up a time penalty for multiple track violations. So that'll be added to his time at the end of this Grand Prix. May affect his finishing position, but we'll have to, of course, wait and see where he ends up. BRT Meatball, though, for the moment and time being, holding off Medal as we get back into this lead pack. And I'll tell you who haven't had the bit of spotlight just as much yet. That's these two guys out front controlling this pace, dictating it to their liking. BXM currently in the lead for Red Bull, as TF10 Flow is currently in second. But these guys have been trading it back and forth in this Grand Prix. But they are very much quite comfortable out front at the moment. And I've got to imagine Thomas here, he's going to try and have to save up some of that battery. He's used a lot more of it than the two guys out front. Flo actually looking the best of the trio. Don't count out the two Mercs behind. They're not far away, still within an arm's length. I'm sure that's where these guys will probably want to keep them, at arm's length. But nonetheless, they've closed up through that final corner. Look, the gap's barely half a second between these guys. Tim looking very close to the back of his teammate. So we've got Meatball, Medal, they're switching positions up once again. As I say, it's that DRS, it really does enable you to overtake, especially around here with the straights being so long. But that's what they had to work with. The track was, of course, built on the area around the Hard Rock Stadium, home of the Miami Dolphins here in Florida. So they had to work with what they were given, effectively. So I'm sure Herman Tilke, no doubt, designed it. I actually don't have that, but he seems to design pretty much every single F1 track we ever visit, modern and old. So the two Mercedes there, they're looking pretty feisty a bit further back. Mr. Chris still out in front for the moment. Crowding has caught up to them now, so he's looking to make a move. He's got the inside! That was unexpected! What a move from Crowding! I bet he caught that Mercedes completely off guard. It's not quite done yet because they're still fighting. Can Tim get a good exit then out of here? Turn 16, get that DRS open and make the move back on Crowding to give his teammate a rear gunner. But he's got the battery light flashing there on the car. But Crowding, what a move that was. That was out of nowhere. Completely caught him napping. He's going for that inside line though, is Tim. That's what he needed to do. Now help your teammate be that rear gunner. He's certainly done it. Well done, Tim. Crowding going to have to go for the overtake once again, but he has got no battery. Neither of these guys have any battery. There he goes. Goes for that inside line. Oh, a bit of a lunge, but he was there or thereabouts. Camera angle made it rather tricky to see. Tim, though, just doing everything he needs to. He's helping his teammate out magnificently here at this very moment in time. The new Minister of Defence, could this man be? He's kept crowding at bay for another lap, and that does mean that Mr. Chris can literally focus to the front, eyes forward. He's just got to knuckle down now, get into a rhythm, get those laps in, and keep with the front three. They're very, very quick, that front three. They know how to race very clearly, especially Tomas, we know, knows how to race. Not too sure about Flow BXM, but they're doing everything they need to right now. So for the moment, you got to think they've done this many a time, as Crowding now is having to defend from Gergo. Got it a little bit sideways through that corner. Just about kept it all together, but Gergo gets the position. He moves up into P6 now. Can he go charging after the Mercedes? And in all of that, BXM picks up that 3-second time penalty. So that will be now added to the total race time for him at the end of the session. It's not what he needed, was it? As you can see, the gaps back to Meatball and Medal is 9 seconds, and then from them back to Greenhorn and the two Hasses is increasing lap after lap, because it's just so difficult to catch up without the DRS. If you lose it, you really are in a sort of a battle of your own, and the same is probably now going to happen between Jacob and IRS and Nis. They've lost the train here in front of them, so that's going to be another duo that's probably just going to switch back and forth for the rest of this Grand Prix. Until we get the first round of pit stops, and probably the only round of pit stops, because it's been plain sailing here. Oh, never mind. What's happened there? Meatball's had a moment. He's in the wall. He's lost the front wing, and we've got a virtual safety car. Virtual safety car is out. Will it be out long enough for these guys to pit in? I do not know. We'll have to wait and see. Flo now coming into the twisty section at the end of Sector 2. Meatball's got the car back up and running once again. Luckily, he's still got all four wheels attached. It's just the nose that he has lost. But he can get back to the pits, get that replaced, no problem at all. And should be able to continue racing. It very much depends when this virtual safety car comes in. Back on board with the front. Meatball then picks up a 3-second time penalty there. We're probably about to go green very, very shortly. These guys seem to be very much full throttle. Absolutely gunning and going for it. There we go. Back under green. DRS enabled, of course, once again. As BXM got a pretty good launch out of that final corner. He's side by side with Flo then. Up towards turn number 1. I think he's going to have it done very easily as well. Good move there. Good restart from the Red Bull man. So they funnel their way through this first sector, probably very likely single file to minimise the amount of time lost. If you're going side by side, you're going to struggle, as Meatball then actually feels he can't do anything. He's retired from the Grand Prix. So Crowding has got it all to do in terms of points and outscoring IRS for this week. This could be an opportunity for IRS to close that gap up, get in amongst BRT into the final few rounds of this championship. Of course, Tomas there in third, lurking behind the two leaders who've been trading it back and forth. He's managed to regain that battery life, which is good news for him, because he's probably going to need it at some point or another. Very surprised Tim's still in fifth. Those soft tyres must be absolutely screaming at him and begging to be taken off that car. He's surely going to have to pit very soon. We're coming up to the halfway mark on lap 13. We'll be starting lap number 14. I think by the time we get to the end, we are pretty much at that halfway point. I think it's halfway round technically. If we want to get all technical here, I think by the time you get halfway around this next lap, we will be at the halfway race distance. So Tim, I don't know how he's done it, but he's managed to keep that soft going, and he's still going round on it as well. He's still maintaining the DRS to his teammate in front, so he has got an absolute. I don't know how he saved the tyres. I don't know. I don't know how he's done it. If it was me by this point, I'd probably be in the wall. They've overcooked. They're burnt out. Maybe even got a puncture. I don't know. And somehow he's still going on that soft compound, and he's still going at pace as well. He's not really dropped off. He's keeping with his teammate. He's keeping with the front four. He's having a little bit of a moment here, but the DRS is definitely going to help him out. So he should be a-okay. He's doing absolute wonders at the moment. So fair play to him, and he's managed to keep the guys behind him, even though they're on what you would consider the better tyre at this point, and even previously when they were threatening him with the overtake. Gergo crowding couldn't get the move done. Tim did everything he needed to, put his car in the right place. Now the question is he still within the DRS? It certainly looks like it. He absolutely is. I have noticed Medal has pitted. Medal's pitted, so that could be interesting to keep an eye on. The undercut, I feel, is fairly good round here, but it's not amazing, so it doesn't tend to matter too much. It's not that drastic. Will we see anybody blink and come into the pits? Yes, we will. Tim has decided to go for that pit stop now, and I don't blame him, because those softs have done an absolute mega stint, and he's done it at pace as well, so he's going to get an undercut here, which does mean then that the guys in front, next time by, they're probably going to have to think about pitting in, otherwise they might lose this lead to that Mercedes, because he is going to be absolutely rocketing it round. I have noticed IRS Anis has also decided to pit in. So, first of the pit stops have arrived. Of course, Medal did it the lap before, but he was a bit further down the order. But this is where the real test is, of where Tim is going to come out in all of this by the time everyone else has pitted. So he's on that. He's gone for the medium tyre. Medium tyre? He's gone for the medium tyre. That's interesting, isn't it? Soft medium. He's making it work, though. Nonetheless, crowding's past Gergo into the twisty section here. I would love to give you the corner names, but I don't think they have any. And if they do, I don't know them, so I'm not going to go looking for them now because I feel it's a little bit too late. But nonetheless, we all kind of know where we are on the circuit. It is fairly recognisable, this one. It doesn't get lost in amongst its corners, if you like. But, of course, it is fairly new to the calendar, so if you haven't seen it before, of course, you're not going to necessarily recognise it, because it is just a street circuit, after all. It's not here for the majority of the year. It is purely when F1 come to town and they come to play here in Miami. So we've now got another set of drivers in. Mr. Chris, BXM have decided that's enough. My question is, where's Tim going to come out? He's through the final corner now. Has this been the outlap of dreams, as Mr. Chris BXM is more likely going to be the candidate? Through out of the pit lane he goes. They're back up to full racing speed. Are they going to be close? He's got the jump on his teammate. Actually, he's going to be nearly side by side. No, Tim does make it ahead of Mr. Chris, pitting that lap earlier. Got the undercut on him. Is he close enough, though, to BXM? At the moment, not quite. He won't have that DRS. He really needs to put this warmer tyre to work in this opening few sectors, whilst the Red Bull there brings it up to speed and up to pace as he desperately tries to get some heat in them. He will have a slight advantage here as Tim, but he has got that red light showing. He's out of battery once again. He's really trying to push hard to get in that DRS zone. Looks as though he's done it so. Mr. Chris, and well, now Mr. Tim. He's going to benefit through this part of the circuit here, as that tyre is up to temperature. Going to have a bit more grip than the Red Bull, who's just bringing them in now. Now that advantage will probably disappear. So if Tim wants to make the move, it's probably going to have to be now or never, where the Red Bull doesn't have the DRS down this back straight. Don't think he's going to be close enough to get anything done. No, not on this occasion. We know that BXM was one of the leaders, so really all Tim needs to do is stick with it here. He should be A-OK as we got another set of cars in. Flo is in, Crowding is into the pits. I think I think Flo's going to actually lose out big time here between his rival of BXM that he's been battling with the entire race so far. There he is, he's behind both the Mercedes. Flo is out, he's behind both the Mercedes. Tomas is still going round, Gergo's still going round, and so is Bauer. Jacob, as Greenhorn picks up that penalty into the pits. IRS Tomas and AMS Gergo going for a different strategy here. They feel they've still got a good enough pace. Maybe they'll stick on the soft compound tyre at the end and really gun it home. Hope that they just have outright sheer pace, that is going to be a viable strategy for them. We should see them coming through the field if that is the case. But at this point you kind of want to leave it as late as possible, but it can be very difficult. Jacob Bauer now getting more penalties, picks up a 5-second one for corner cutting. Where he is on track is the Sister Red Bull. He's in this pack here actually at the front. You can just see him there at the top of your screen behind the Mercedes. Actually, he may even go for a move. Let's have a little bit look further back there. Sorry, Jacob there. He's gone for the inside. Oh, he's clipped the other one. No, he spun round Mr. Tim, and that's it. He's just absolutely ruined that Mercedes race right there. That was naughty of Jacob. He's absolutely sent it. And just like that, Tim is down in 7th, undeservingly as well. Jacob still in 4th at the moment. Where did Tomas come out in all of that? He came out 6th position, right behind his teammate. They're 5th and 6th, crowding down in 8th. So at the moment, IRS outperforming BRT, and that means they will close up in the championship actually, as Anis has just gained a position. Oh, there's a big gaggle of cars here. What's going on? They're heading down the back straight. DRS is going to be activated for a couple of them here. Who's going to come out on top? You've got Jacob, Tim, the 2 Ferraris. Sending it late on the brakes. There goes the Mercedes. Tim's back up into 4th. No, he's not. He's just lost out to Tomas. Tomas is now in 4th. And this is going to try and make it through. Very much forcing his way, but still within the confines of the rules. That was brilliant racing there, side by side. A very tricky section to do it in as well. As Tomas, that's definitely got to be removed. Surely he didn't do anything wrong there, in my opinion. My word, what a move from Tomas, really showing the pace of that soft tyre immediately. And he's not got that big of a gap to catch up to the front 2 at least. Even the front 3, Mr. Chris there, he's battling with Flo, but BXM has gone a little bit ahead. He's broken that DRS, which is crucial for him. And I'm curious, what do you want to say? Feel free, speak your mind. I want to know now. IRS win by Jarno Opmeer reference. I honestly should keep up with the esports a little bit more. I'm not fully up to date with all of the references, but nonetheless, we move on. We move forward. Tomas in 4th position, chasing down Mr. Chris and Flo at the bare minimum. He's got a lot of work in front of him. But if anyone can do it, it is Tomas. Is one of the drivers out there that I think and definitely can do this. I think that his sister, though, the sister Ferrari round in that the same middle sector through the chicane. I don't know if he got it all wrong or whether he got tapped from behind, but nonetheless, he's now down in 8th position. Tim up to 5th. He's fighting side by side with Crowding for that position. And just like that, IRS losing a few points. And that could be crucial for BRT. They're going to try and minimise the amount of point loss here, I feel, this evening. Crowding doing his utmost to make sure that is a reality. He's got Tomas a little way in front of him, but he is on the soft tyre. Will he get to the end at pace? That remains to be seen. Of course, most of the guys around him are on that medium. We know the medium can go the distance. That's no worries at all. But Well, we saw Tim do it in the first stint when he's heavy with fuel as well. You've got to imagine that Tomas can make it work with a lighter fuel load. It's a very good question. I didn't quite see. I just saw IRS Innes. He went round through that tight chicane underneath the bypass. Very tricky angle to see whether he was hit or not. But nonetheless, we still move forward. Tim still in 6th. There's a bit of a gap forming between the guys out front. BXM on his own at the moment, 2 seconds clear of his race rival, it seems, of Flo, who's currently now in 2nd position. Mr. Chris is in 3rd. IRS Tomas 4th. BRT Crowding has fought his way up into 5th position. He's got Tim keeping him company in 6th, just behind. And then we get AMS Gergo. IRS Innes now in 8th position. SLR Medal in 9th. Jacob in 10th. And then the 2 Hasses of Eni and Greenhorn 11th and 12th, just slightly further back. Lap 21 of 29. They are closing in fast, counting them down. Soon crunch time will be upon us. Tim still within the DRS zone of Crowding. You've got a slightly older medium tyre. It should go the distance. I can't imagine that will be a problem. This man seems to be able to save tyres like nobody's business. He made those softs work for such a long time in his first stint, but he crucially needs to stick within that DRS zone. I think Crowding may have been able to break it just there and then. See if Tim can respond in any way, shape or form through the next couple of corners, because that will be crucial to whether he can get back under a second. Keep an eye on that as Tomas is now closing in on the next car. That's Mr. Chris in the sister Mercedes. He's just got under the 1 second barrier, so DRS now will be in activation for the IRS Ferrari. It's now, I think, going to be a matter of time before we see him pass Mr. Chris. That light there flashing on the back as well, so that means he's low on battery. 8%, but Tomas is also burning his up at quite a rate. Only 21% for him. But of course, those soft tyres doing everything he needs to, and probably a little bit more as well in the closing stages of this Grand Prix. He's probably going to have to wait here, unless he really does get a run on Mr. Chris in this first sector. Very tricky to do. Like I say, it's very much single file, and if you're in the wake of the car in front as well, it can be quite difficult to follow. I think Tomasi, he was in 3rd place earlier in the race, so you've got to imagine he'll get back to that position at a minimum. But he's still got to get past Mr. Chris. You can obviously catch up quite easily. I would say it's another thing to overtake, but he's going to make me eat my words because he's done it so easy on the brakes into that tight left-hander. Made him look like he was standing still almost in that Mercedes in the braking zone. They're really making use of that fresh soft tyre. Of course, it is being burnt down lap after lap. So he's going to have to get a move on and make it quick if he wants to gain any more positions. That is going to be the big question. Can he catch the Alpha Tauri in front of him? 2.4 the gap at the time being. He really wants to make sure that this position is cemented from Mr. Chris behind, who is now lurking in his DRS. But he seems to have it pretty much under wraps. Here we go, though. AMS Gergo, Tim, once again in a bit of a kerfuffle. What's happened there? He's lost it on the exit. He's struggled to keep in a straight line. Just about kept it out of the wall. And now he's going to try and make the overtake on Gergo into turn 1. Gergo's going to force him the long way round. So I think for the moment, he's going to hold on to that position quite nicely as Gergo. But that red light is a flashing. So he's down on battery. Tim's not looking too handy himself on the battery levels, but he's not got the light on the back of his car. So for the time being, he's A-OK. Down the back straight they go. Tim in the DRS of Gergo in front. does seem to struggle a little bit through that final corner there of Sector 1 before you get onto this back straight. But closing the gap all the time with the DRS helping him do so. BXM has indeed got a 3-second time penalty. We can double check what everyone has got if we want. Let's have a little look here. Penalties, there we go. 3 seconds for BXM. Tomas, a 5-second penalty, but I think that will probably be looked at and removed after the race, providing he doesn't have to serve it during. IRS and S 9 seconds there. SLR Medel 3, and Jacob with 3 seconds penalties. 3 seconds worth of time penalties as well. Gergo seems to be pulling away from Tim at this present moment in time. The gap between Flo and BXM, though, has slowly been coming down out front. It's just over a second at this point, and this is very much a level playing field because BXM doesn't have anyone in front of him to help him assist. So this is down to pure pace and speed, and Flo has dropped the gap in half. It was 2 seconds a few laps ago. And we're on lap 24 now of 29, and the gap's still closing in. The Haas there very nicely and neatly moves out of the way, not to disrupt the leaders whilst they race round. Tomas is still going to want to try and close in himself, though. It's 1.9 seconds the gap. It hasn't dropped as much as he probably was hoping and would have liked after he cleared Mr. Chris. It has been slowly coming down, but yeah, not as quick as I think he was hoping. But he is probably now hoping that the two leaders here are going to fight it out, and that definitely will then give him a chance of catching up. As Mr. Tim has just got, well, I say Mr. Tim, it's because his teammate's Mr. Chris. Tim has just picked up a 3-second time penalty there as well, so that'll be added on to his race. Not that it should affect anything for him, because the next car behind him is 10 seconds back, and that's the other Ferrari of IRS Anis. Gap now 0.4 of a second between Flo and BXM. Only 5 laps to go, including the one we are currently on, and it's all going to come down to this. Both on medium tyres, both similarly aged as well. The grip levels are the same, the track conditions are the same. It's just the drivers in the cars that are different. It's all going to come down to who can best the other. Battery-wise, looking fairly even between the two of them. BXM not wanting to give any slipstream or tow at all. And I think Flo maybe playing a strategic game here. I don't think he wants to overtake. I think he wants to sit here in the DRS of BXM, and that means he can charge the battery and then make a very easy last-minute pass for the win into probably the final corner, or maybe even the corner at the end of the back straight there. But nonetheless, at the moment, he's still sat behind BXM, and he's probably quite happy there as well. Tomas, the gap has increased a little bit. It's 2.5 seconds now. I speak too soon. Flo's gone for the move. He's taken the lead away then from BXM into the final proper corner, because these next two are very much just flat out kinks really onto the start-finish straight. Well, Flo then is your leader once again, and BXM relegated to P2. But these two, this battle is far from over. Still 4 laps to go, including the one we have just started. I wonder, has Flo potentially got the pace to see if he can pull out a gap between him and BXM? He was able to catch back up to BXM and, you know, bring down the gap that had been created from the pit stops, but it's very, very difficult to make a gap, especially when the car behind you has that drag reduction system to help them overtake, to help them get closer to you. And I think these two may be strategically letting each other through to really just make sure that Tomas has 0 chance of joining this fight. I think at this stage of the Grand Prix, Tomas really just needs to focus on making sure he comes home in 3rd position and not lose too much time to Mr. Chris, because that hard tyre, you've got to imagine, will start to come back on the soft as we get into the closing laps here. The gap is not that big between the two of them. But we're currently focused on the front two here. BXM and TF10 Flow battling it out for the win of this Grand Prix. The gap between them is only a few tenths. They've got DRS one after the other, and I think they very much are just trying to pull away from Tomas behind as we start lap 27. The rest of the grid very much spread out at the moment. BXM and Flow fighting out for P1, P2. Tomas is third. Mr. Chris is in fourth, and BRT Crowding is fifth. AMS Gergo sixth. Tim is in seventh. IRS Anis in eighth. SLR Medal ninth, and rounding out the top 10 is Jacob. And we got the two Hasses down and out at the back, 11th and 12th. Eni only 7 seconds off Jacob, but Greenhorn has been lapped. So not been Greenhorn's day, unfortunately. But nonetheless, he's still in it. He's still racing on, which is what we like to see. It's always better when we get to see them make it to the end of the Grand Prix. It doesn't matter too much about how far back you finish if you are down there. But it's very much a nicer thing to finish the race. But of course, you're all aiming for this spot that Flo is currently in. And that is the lead of the Grand Prix. Still yet to be decided who is going to take the win at the checkered flag, because they're trading this first position left and right. They're passing it to one another like a lit bomb, and they do not want it, but of course they do want it desperately. Unlike the bomb, they are just trading it back and forth to make sure they can keep the pace up and away from Tomas behind. They're doing this strategically, of course. Low still holding the lead though. Lap 28 now, penultimate lap. It's the Haas there, I think. Greenhorn, he's dropping, but he's just letting everyone by, which is fair enough. Doesn't want to get too much in the way. You've got to respect it, really. Second to last time through Sector 1 now. And on to the backstroke. BXM will have that DRS, of course. As I'm noticing, BRT Crowding, that gap is slowly dropping between him and Mr. Chris. It's not by a lot, but it is a little bit. He's got a lap and a bit to do it if he's going to. Just going to keep my eye on that, as I'm sure everyone else is as well. But firmly, our eyes are fixed on this battle. Traded the lead once again. Flo now in P2. BXM retakes the lead. As we head down the back straight, or the second back straight if you like, for the second to last time. Certainly could have been. It could also be a lot of if buts and maybes. I think if Tim wasn't absolutely disgustingly battered by Jacob earlier on in this race as well, it could have gone very different for that Mercedes driver. So we do not know how things would have panned out. What we do know, though, is that we have got a last lap battle for the lead of this Grand Prix. BXM currently the man out front. Flo following very closely behind. I'm noticing BRT Crowding's closed the gap in a little bit more to Mr. Chris, but at the moment we're still firmly fixated on these two. Through Sector 1 they go for one final time. Can Flo stick close enough that he can get a move on BXM? He's got the battery to do it. I feel like this is going to be Flo's race to lose at this moment. He's currently in P2, but he should get the move nice and easily done on that Red Bull. He may not want to do it here. He may want to leave it to the last corner. Let's see how it all unfolds. DRS in activation. Closing in, closing in, closing in. Sits behind for the moment. I think he knows where he needs to do it. He wants to get the move done in turn 17. I wonder if BXM can do his utmost to defend that position. It's going to be a tall order. He's got the red light flashing on the back of his car. It's going to be very, very difficult to keep the speed up down this back straight. Flo has been able to save a bit of his. He's going to use it all now. He's going to dump everything he has got. The gap, though, quite large. It's half a second. Has he got enough? Has he not done enough to get the move done? He pulls out of the slipstream. It's going to be late on the brakes into the final corner. They both got no battery. They're going to be side by side though. BXM gets a brilliant run out of turn 17. He's only got two more to do. They're flat out. I think BXM's going to do it. Yes, he is. He takes the win. And Flo is going to be in P2. But actually, with penalties all applied, Flo actually takes the win of this Grand Prix. BXM is going to come home in second place. It says Mr. Chris is third, but I think it will go to Tomas once that has been removed. I'm pretty sure it will be removed. If not, though, then obviously the standings will look like this, but we will find out next week for you all. Crowding then, maybe fourth, maybe fifth. We'll wait and see between these three. It could switch up between them, but nonetheless, we know that Gergo is sixth, Tim is seventh, SLR Medal eighth, and this is ninth. As we wait for the last few drivers now, Jacob Bauer is going to finish 10th position here. Eni is going to finish in 11th, and his teammate Greenhorn will be 12th position as we wait for them to cross the line. But that was sensational at the end of this Grand Prix. Battled all the way to the finish line. BXM did get first over the line, so I wonder if he'll try and get any penalties potentially removed post-race. But nonetheless, the win does technically, at this present moment in time, go to Flo. That's brilliant points then for AlphaTauri. Good result for them. Yeah, Tomas was a little bit unlucky, but I think he will be still promoted back to third place because the penalty he got, I don't think it was really anything he done. He made a move under yellow flags, but it's not because he just felt like it. It's because the two that he made the move on were very much sort of tangling between each other. And it was either that or potentially cause an incident. So I think Tomas did the right thing at the time it happened, and unfortunately the game has penalised him in that sense. But you'll have to wait and see till after the race. I don't quite know how things stack up, but there is the results. Flo takes the win at the moment. BXM is second. Mr. Chris is on the podium for the time being. It may go back to Tomas. We'll wait and see. But crowding fourth, Tomas fifth, Gergo sixth, Tim seventh, Medal eighth, Bauer ninth, and Iris Ennis rounds out the top 10. And then Eni and Greenhorn bring it home for 11th and 12th for Haas. Brilliant result, brilliant race. Can't wait for next week if that's how it's going to be week after week. What a result that was. We can look here at the championship. This is, of course, after round number 7. We've just had the results of round 8, and it will be updated accordingly. But I'm pretty sure IRS close in a little bit on BRT there at the top of the standings. That is good news for them, of course. They will be absolutely ecstatic with that. 2 rounds to go, Abu Dhabi and Brazil. And yeah, things could get absolutely heated then for this championship. But nonetheless, brilliant result for everyone out there. I'm going to give my driver of the day purely for the entertainment value that he provided to Tim. Brilliant racing for him in that Mercedes. He was very unlucky in how his race ended because he did get completely clattered by Jacob. Very much, I feel, ruined his race. But nonetheless, thank you very much for joining. I hope you have all enjoyed watching along. We will be back here next week, same time, for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. My name has been Ashley, and this has been the Euro Time.